I'm Cecelia Tichi, T-I-C-H-I, and I'm here to talk about my mystery novel, Murder, Murder, Murder in Gilded Central Park. Why 3 repeats of murder? Because 3 young women have been murdered in Central Park from August to October in 1898, the Gilded Age. And these books of mine, series, the Val and Roddy DeVere Gilded series, are set in the period named by Mark Twain in his novel, The Gilded Age. Don't go rushing to that book of Twain's if you like some of the others. It was his first attempt at long fiction, and it's not very good, but it's filled with the same events that we're seeing today. Greed in American culture, crimes, corruption, good faith efforts, well-meaning people, lobbyists, politics, business, all of it. So today's Gilded Age, if we Google, we see Gilded Age, and often it's these very years. We are in a second Gilded Age, so it's worth our time to visit the first Gilded Age, roughly from 1870 into the early years of the 20th century. A broad canvas on which to explore and to see mystery and murder. So, who's in this book? First, Valentine Mackle DeVere, a silver heiress from the far west. She grew up in the Colorado mining camps with her papa, often sleeping under a bearskin in sub-zero weather. But in Virginia City, Nevada, which at one time was one of the richest cities in America, and I recommend that you visit it these days. It's a wonderful place to visit, and you'll see Mark Twain's own desk at the Territorial Enterprise newspaper building, where he first changed his name from Samuel Clemens to Mark Twain. My Val lived with her papa, rich, in Virginia City, and to that city came a New York family of long lineage. But because of poor investments, the father was hoping, against all odds, to strike it rich and restore the family's fortune, the New York fortune. They brought their son, Roddy. And Roddy had his own history, which his parents misunderstood. Roddy, it seems, had become interested in a new invention of the Gilded Age. Not so much electricity, not dreams of flight as the Wright brothers would do, but cocktails. And they were actually an invention, because before the Gilded Age, if your whiskey might have ice in it, it would be diluted. If it would have fruit juices, unheard of. But clever bartenders were mixing drinks, cocktail drinks, and Roddy became interested. And though he went to law school, and he's a lawyer, he's also, on the sly, an inventor of cocktails, and much in demand to mix signature cocktails for resorts and steamships and railroads. But on the sly, no one should know. In the courtroom, he defends saloons and clubs against the temperance zealots who are determined to end alcoholic drinks, all of them in the United States. Well, Roderick marries Val, love of their lives, and sweeps her off to New York. Her papa is deceased. All her silver fortune is now theirs to share, and they live on Fifth Avenue and have just arrived for the fall season, 1898, after a summer in Newport. What do they find? But that there is a strangler afoot in Central Park. The DeVeres live on Fifth Avenue, and Central Park is practically their front yard. Fifth Avenue, the avenue that lines the east side of the park. Suddenly, a murderer is stalking young women in the park. What young women? Not the ladies who are escorted all the time by gentlemen, or with friends, or if a coachman has delivered them to a destination, the coachman waits at the curb. So ladies are escorted, but young working girls, they are on their own when they're off, including on a night off once a week when they might cross the park. 3 of them have been found strangled. The DeVeres are upset. They have breakfast. The newspapers are full of it. Roddy says the Central Park strangler will now be the scandal of the city. That scandal is soon to come to their doorstep. But first, Roddy and Val have a little tiff at breakfast, because Roddy, as a gentleman, is a man about town. He has committee meetings. He has appointments. He can come and go freely. A lady, however, could not be out on her own. What were ladies up to? Hobbies? Painting dishware, perhaps? Collecting figurines? What Val has been doing is bookbinding. She's up in a workroom on the 3rd floor of their mansion, and the glue she uses is so awful to smell that open windows waft the odor out of doors, and someone has thought that there might be a fire in the DeVere's house. The fire engines come, and then a policeman shows up to interview Val to find out whether perhaps there's an arsonist in their home. Well, the policeman is out, and he says perhaps they'll find the strangler soon. But at this moment, when the day is about to begin, and I want to read just a little passage. The day is about to begin. Roddy and Val have seen the newspapers. Of course, they're upset. The strangler is afoot. It seems that once a month, a serial killer, really, in our own terms. But Roddy asks Val, "What is on the agenda for you today, my dear?" She answers, "I did not reply. My day yawned vacantly ahead. I stood from the breakfast table, Roddy stood, and the gulf that split a gentleman's day from a lady's gaped wide open when my husband repeated, 'Once again, what is on the agenda for you today, my dear?' I murmured about walking our dog and spending a few hours in my workroom with the bookbinding, where some books awaited new bindings in Morocco leather. In truth, nothing popped on my calendar as a lady by marriage in society. 3 years into my new life as Mrs. Roderick DeVere, and following a Newport summer that crackled with surprising adventure, I suddenly found myself with little to do and no purpose. As the day unfolded, however, I need not have fretted, for unforeseen events were underway to bring a challenge to Roddy's and my doorstep, literally speaking, to the dozen limestone front steps that had been imported from the Loire Valley in France for this Fifth Avenue French Gothic chateau in New York City. By the evening hours, that is, Roddy and I would find ourselves faced with a critical decision that we could not have foreseen. And the decision is whether Roddy and Val will involve themselves in solving the mystery of who is strangling the young women in Central Park. I invite you inside this novel, Murder, Murder, Murder in Gilded Central Park.